Greetings, I'm Herbert Erpaderp, and today we're going to have a look at what's in this box. If you can't read, it's a Dicamax in 35th scale from Dragon. I'm sure there's a fun joke or maybe even a song about something in a box here that YouTube probably wouldn't appreciate. That isn't what's in the box though, probably for the best. There is a bunch of stuff in here though, mostly bits of plastic. The whole tub is it's a tub of course, it's a single piece, and it looks pretty well detailed. The positives of a tub, instead of having to glue the sides on, are probably obvious, but it means things will be lined up nice and straight without the modeler having to line them up nice and straight, and that does affect the rest of the build. It just makes the entire thing a little bit easier. I suppose the same can be said about having a single upper hull part. This kit doesn't have that, but the fighting compartment walls, or casemate or whatever you want to call it, is mostly a single part. Those weld beads along the edge of the plates are pretty nice. There are some other big chunks on the sprues, and all of these big chunks seem to be internal hull bits. This isn't a full interior kit like the Burger Panther, but being open-topped, it does have a fair amount of interior-ish detail. You can see a lot of those parts here. Lots of fiddly bits for the armament and its associated mechanisms. Obviously some of the parts you can see here are also external, but a lot of them are very small. That by itself will make them fiddly enough. From what I can see, most of these parts are fairly neat and well moulded, so even though the small parts are fiddly and could easily be devoured by the carpet monster, they shouldn't require a lot of cleanup, which reduces the chance of them being dropped and lost, and subsequently devoured by the carpet monster. The same goes for the larger panels. I mean the bit about them not having too much in the way of mold lines. Plates like those don't usually disappear into the maw of the carpet monster. I am obviously not a Dicamax expert, so I couldn't tell you how accurate any of the detail in this kit is, but I do think it looks rather good, and there is a lot of detailing parts here. One area that looks like it's going to have a lot of parts and therefore detail is the running gear. The parts look quite crisp. I mean, all of the parts in this kit do look nice and crisp, so that's a good thing. I'm hoping that crispness leads to a good, neat and, hopefully, not too tricky to build suspension system. I obviously haven't built it yet, so I can't tell you how it's going to work out, but there is always a risk of misalignments and such when you've got so many parts in your suspension. All it really means is you've got to pay a bit more attention and be more careful when building. One thing I guess we don't have to worry too much about is these wheels. They come pre-assembled, so they're pre-aligned. Hopefully pre-aligned nice and straight. This is going to save valuable seconds. Seconds we can use to install all of these. I think these are the rubber tyres for the road wheels. They're not rubber, they're plastic, but you know what I mean. They look pretty neat, so I don't imagine putting them onto the wheels to be too difficult. The tracks are, well, they're probably not going to be difficult to do, but they are individual links, which has a pretty good chance of meaning time-consuming. They are single parts, which does simplify things at least a little bit. I obviously haven't built the kit yet, so you should take this with a grain of salt. You should take everything I say with a grain of salt, and everybody else on YouTube too. The rest of the parts are, well, they're more of the same, pretty much. That sounds a bit dismissive, but it's not meant to be. It's not a bad thing, and you can see the parts anyway. This is a fairly modern moulding, I believe from 2007.
So nearly 20 years old?
When you put it that way, it's not the newest, but it's recent enough that the tooling hasn't been worn to the point where it's making flash and mold lines everywhere, so they seem like pretty well made parts. They are certainly good looking parts. I can't identify most of them, and some of them are very tiny, and I am a little bit concerned about breaking some of those handles, but as with anything, if you're careful and take your time, things should go right. I am thankful that pretty much all of these parts are nicely moulded though. It not only saves time on cleanup, but it also reduces the risk of breaking parts before getting them onto the model. And even if you're really careful, those risks are inherent to small parts.
Oh, you make it sound so dangerous, Herbert.
It is. Okay, not really. I do appreciate that there's a bunch of crew items, helmets and shovels and binoculars and so forth. These kinds of items can give the model a more used and lived-in look. There are no crew figures to go with them, and crew figures would give a more actively used look, though I probably wouldn't use them anyway. I know, you're shocked, right? I'm sure if you did really want figures, you could find some aftermarket models. I mean, 35th scale is pretty common, so it's probably not too hard to find something appropriate. There's some clear parts, which seem like they're for vision devices, and binoculars, which I suppose are a kind of vision device. They look nice and clear, which is pretty much what you want in a clear part. There's also a towing cable, which is metal cable, or maybe more accurately wire. This should be better than string, but it doesn't seem to be super flexible, so it could be difficult to work with. I guess that's future Herbert's problem though. Another problem for future Herbert: Photo-etch. It doesn't look like there's anything too complicated here, though some of the bits are very small. It does look like the bending points are marked though, so hopefully this isn't too bad. I guess I just have a bit of an aversion to Photo-etch. Sometimes you just can't avoid it. We also get a baggie of decals. There's plenty of kill markings for the barrel. They look very decal, and I'm sure they do the trick. And so we don't have to just guess at how everything goes together, an instruction booklet is included. How very thoughtful. The instructions look pretty decent, though there is a lot going on in the diagrams, which can sometimes lead to missed parts and instructions and things, especially when they're small parts or drilling instructions.
These are all things you don't need to worry about if you pay enough attention, Herbert.
I suppose that's true. I, again, haven't started building this yet, so I can't say if there are any problems or not, but if there are, I'll tell you about them in the build video, or I'll whine about them live on stream. There's a few little pop-outs, for lack of better word, and those should help with some of those sub-assemblies. And it does look like things are labelled clearly, so there probably won't be any real problems unless I've caused them myself, but that's for future Herbert to find out. I think this is a pretty good looking kit. I think it's going to be fun to build, though I'm certain there's going to be some fiddliness involved, and it is probably going to take a fair bit of time. But hey, that just means good hobby time value for money spent, really. I don't know about you, but I don't buy these things just to have them built in an instant. The building is the fun bit. When am I going to start building this? Well, that depends. I do have to finish building the tack on Burger Panther first. I know I've been saying that kit doesn't end, but it will end, I think, so I will need something to build after it. It could be this kit. I'm going to put it up to a vote for patrons. Your choices are this Dicker Max kit, or the Neubau Fahrzeug, or whatever it is, by Amusing Hobby. There's a What's in the Box video for that kit, which I've uploaded at the same time as this one, so check out that video as well, and go over to Patreon, where you'll find a poll. Obviously, you do have to be a patron to vote, which means if you just randomly answer in the comments, it doesn't count. I think they're both going to be good fun kits, so I don't really care which one I build first. Whichever kit is chosen will be built after the Burger Panther, perhaps after a short break to do something quick and simple, I guess. Obviously a build video for this, or the Neubau whatever, will appear at some point in the future, but if you want to see it come together live and hang out with myself and the good sensible folks in chat, I will, as usual, be live streaming the build both here on YouTube and over on Twitch. This is going to be a Wednesday night's build, local time of course, and my schedule page over on Twitch will convert that to local time for you. Okay, that's probably enough waffling from me. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comments section below. Subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of thing, and if you want to vote, or you like what I do, consider supporting on Patreon or Ko-fi. Links are in the description. Take care of yourselves, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching. Farewell.